Next up is Evan Koblentz. He is with the Vintage Computer Federation, a nonprofit 501c3 organization. Today he's going to be talking about Lego programming with the Apple II.
Thank you, Ken. Can you hear me? Great. So, this is my first K-Fest. I am stoked to be here. And Lego programming with the Apple II. These are my minions. They helped me build my demo. I'm going to very quickly say how I got from birth to here, very quickly. Lego fan ever since I can remember. I used to shun my other friends, shun sports and everything, to stay inside and play with my Legos when I was a little child. In 5th grade, last year at grade school, we learned TurboGrafx. We had no idea it was a real programming language. It was the first computer I ever saw, not counting Atari and stuff. Learned BASIC in 6th grade on 2 pluses. The only redeeming quality of having religion in my life as a kid was getting an Apple II for my bar mitzvah. I swear this is a true story. I remember like it was today, telling my parents I wish there was a way to connect my Legos to my Apple II. And it turns out that that year there was a way. It came out that year. I didn't know about it, and wish I had. And then I kind of took a different course, got out of computers. Back into vintage computing in the early 2000s. I'm a Linux guy, love my Apple II at heart. Thanks to Javier, my platinum is in fact now platinum. 2004, I co-founded a user group on the East Coast called Mid-Atlantic Retro Computing Hobbyist. That merged in 2015 with the Vintage Computer Forum and the Vintage Computer Festival to become VCF Inc., nonprofit, which is a national group. Covered that already. You guys know all about VCF. I'll skip that. And I still shun other people to play with my Legos. So some things never change. Okay, so Maker Faire. You know what Maker Faire is. We were coming up with a demo for last year at Maker Faire, and we decided to do computer robotics. We had an arm for an IMSI, and we had a hero robot. And one of our members said, I got this Lego kit. And I was like, you have what? And I realized this was what I wanted since 30 years ago. Last summer, I was home all summer. I got a big scar here from bone tumor surgery. Couldn't walk for a month, couldn't drive for a few months, had PT, couldn't work. I was miserable as heck. And this was the best medicine, to sit home, not be able to do anything other than play with Legos on my Apple II. It was a really good morale booster when I needed it the most. Brush with cancer, morale boosters help. But I learned that the imagination of a 42-year-old quickly exceeds that of a 12-year-old. Rabbit hole of technology challenges. I emerged, and here I am. Of the 100 people at K-Fest, I'm probably 92nd or something in technical aptitude. Most of you, if not all of you, are better programmers and engineers than I will ever be. I was an English major, but I spent 12 months immersing myself in this one thing. So I'll share what I learned. I hope you find it interesting. Some parts may be obvious and even silly to you guys. I'm not a programmer for a living, so please, it made me proud to do it, so please, understand where I'm coming from. So this is 10 years before Mindstorms existed. This is the original kit, 1986. I don't have a picture of the box. I should have. I'm sorry for that. You get a card for the IBM PC and a card for the Apple II. You get an interface box, which is this plastic thing over here. Maybe you could see that right here, interface box. You get some little 4.5 volt motors, opto sensor, touch sensor, and little LED lights. You can probably see the lights if some of you up front. So, your choices other than an IBM or an Apple II. Choose your weapon. But not a 2C because it has no card slot, right? So I brought a Laser 128 with me because I needed a small computer to travel with, and it works fine. Commercial interruption. Do any of you know John Chapman, System Glitch, Glitchworks? Okay, well, he's down in the Virginia area. He loves making stuff, especially S100 stuff. Anyway, he, a few months ago, was developing an Apple II proto board, and he made the prototype. We didn't have the Apple II card, only the IBM. So John made me, we had the schematics, only 3 chips. So he made the card, and the commercial plug, Henry, is the distributor of the cards. So this is proof. If you're wondering if the Apple II proto cards work, I've got one here running, the prototype. It's great. And Henry drove me here, so if you don't like this, blame him. My fault. His fault I got here. Okay. My friend Dan made this slide. I am not an electrical engineer. I don't understand most of this. Hopefully you will. I'll post these online. You can read it in detail later if you wish. I can't answer any questions about this. I really don't know the answers. Michael Mulhern, where are you? So on the Apple II Facebook group, like last summer or whatever, I was lamenting that I didn't have the card enclosure for the Lego Laser 128. It's a metal enclosure, it's a unicorn, I don't have one, and it turns your 1 slot into 2 slots. But 1 slot was sufficient for me. Ian Primus, are you here? He must have stepped out. He pointed out to me that you don't have to have the enclosure. You can just plug your card directly into the slot. And so I didn't have the enclosure. I was lamenting that in demos, young people might touch it. And Michael said, jokingly, sarcastically, make it out of Lego, ha ha. And I said, that's a good idea. He goes, no, I was kidding.
No, it wasn't sarcastic.
Well, that's what I took it.
I just took it that that's what you should do.
Well, I took it sarcastically, but I did it anyway. So if you can get a picture of this, well, it's on the picture's on here. So I made it out of Lego, and I left a slot for the ribbon cable, put some little Velcro dots there, and I put the satellite dish on there. This is a joke. And we're at Maker Faire, and this little, maybe 8, 9-year-old boy comes up to me. What is this? Should I show him a demo? And I explain the data comes out of the satellite dish, bounces off the top of the tent to the robot. And the little kid goes, oh yeah? Where's the dish on the robot end, huh? And I'm like, you little brat. I'm gonna wring his neck. So he looked like a sweet kid. Looks to be deceiving. Right? Probably. It was like Back to the Future me. Because I was that kid, I'm sure. This is the IBM PC card. Who wants to see that? Next slide. This is pretty view with the interface box. The little dots here and here, those are LEDs. They turn green when you activate a port. That's the always on test port, off switch. These are for motors, and those are for lights and sensors. Here's the inside of the box. It's quite difficult to open. It's held together by 6 plastic rivets, which I probably drilled out and put screws in. This is what the inside looks like. When I got it on eBay, they normally sell on eBay or bricklink.com, a Lego site, for hundreds of dollars. This one was 25 bucks untested. I figure if it doesn't work, my friends, folks like you, can easily fix it. I got it, put a power supply in, a barrel connector, worked fine. Some things inside were loose, I tightened them down, works great. My friend Dan made this slide as well. Again, I don't understand it. Maybe you will. I'll post it later. This I understand. You can pick any slot you want in the software. Oddly, on the Laser 128, for both slots, your choices are 5 or 7. Well, I don't know why they're not 1 and 2. And this is basically how you'd wire it up. So, I mentioned Apple II plus Logo or IBM plus Basic. Experiment number 1 last summer at the HOPE conference in New York City. Hackers on Planet Earth by 2600 magazine folks, kind of DEF CON on the East Coast. So our demo there at HOPE, they don't want to see some family-friendly Maker Faire thing. They want to see hacking. So I made a game using the IBM version. And I didn't want to schlep an IBM PC on the subway in New York or mass transit. So I brought a John Chapman, who made the card, loaned me a compact 386 luggable in disguise of a Network General sniffer, but same thing. I made a game for HOPE called Smush the Softy, and a Softy slang from Microsoft employee. And I made a streetscape on an angle, and the motor released the New York City taxi, came down the street, and I had a piece on a piston, a little Lego guy going back and forth, and you had to hit him to get a point. Otherwise, you'd install Windows 10 on your laptop. So that was the game. But it didn't work because we think, but we're not sure. The reason's because, A, wiring problems. 30-year-old wires weren't really up to par. And also, a 386 runs a lot faster than an IBM PC, which it's designed for. You're talking, 4 point something megahertz versus 1 point something megahertz, I think. But accidentally, it turns out the people who attend the HackerCon were way more impressed that I was making something than the fact that I made something and showing the finished product. So that worked out pretty well, actually. There is no disk. The kit only provides disk finished for Apple. In the manual, Lego says if you want to use an IBM PC, here's your initialization code. Good luck. So this code initializes the card, and then they provide you with these different routines to do different functions. It works in a vacuum, but it didn't really work. Again, we had variables, but it kind of shaky. Also, this is weird. On their version, you can read a sensor port. I'm sorry, you can write to a sensor port for a sensor, but you can't read to know what the sensor port's doing. So what good is that? It's weird, but it was kind of unsupported. Experiment number 1 was basically a failure. Experiment 2, Apple II and Logo. This is a screen capture of Lego TC LOGO. This is it's made by LCSI. Peter, you here? Peter Neubauer? Right. So this is a bastardized version of LCSI logo, which is Apple logo. They took out the Apple logo stuff and put in Lego logo stuff. I don't know why they put the Legos upside down on the screen. Why would they do that? I don't understand that.
It was the artist. Don't worry about it.
I don't know, but they should be that way. It bothers me.
Maybe they do that.
Maybe I had the disc in upside down? No, I'm kidding. I don't know why. It's bizarre. I have no explanation for that, not even a theory. This is a simple logo program that runs a little tank, a little treaded tank. So it's like if button 0, do a routine called left tread. If button 1, right tread. If not button, turn the ports off. And it steers the tank, motors in each direction. Set even, set odd is a Lego thing to turn the motors different directions. There's a lot more options than that. There's a speed option, 0 to 7. 0 is off, 1 to 7 is, I'll show that later, one of my demos. But that's a very simple logo program to move a tank around with treads. Oh, and I didn't, no, never mind. I'll get back to this slide later. Okay, experiment number, so that was kind of a pass-fail because I was able to move the little chassis around, but there were limitations. For example, I tried making a car rack and pinion steering, and the motor would turn the rack, the pinion would turn the rack, it would get to the end, the mechanical limit, and just keep going, and that was bad. So I put a touch sensor in there, but the touch sensor reacted much slower than the motor turned off, and it just didn't work. So that was kind of pass-fail, we'll say, inconclusive. Experiment 3. Oh, I forgot to mention, this whole kit was only sold to schools. You couldn't go to a store and buy it, which is why no one knew about it. Ironically, so my mother worked as a secretary in a school district, got a discount on the Apple II. Only reason we could even afford an Apple II. I should have come like all my friends. But since she was in a school district, in an Apple district, if anyone should have even known about it, it should have been me. Like, it bothers me. Better to discover it 30 years too late than never, I guess. So anyway, there was a second version called Lego Lines a year later, even more obscure than the first version. And it was a 300-page manual. And it's all about logo. At the very end of the manual, it said, by the way, if you wish to program on the Apple and Basic, combination I wanted, here's an initialization routine. Good luck to you, good sir. It works, but it was way complicated and a pain in the tuchus. This is, I don't know if you can read this screen or not. Can you guys read this? Sort of, I'm sorry. Lego provided initialization code. Basically it says rem initialize interface, slot equals whatever you want it to be, L equals this number plus S times 16. So you have to set which slot you're doing it in. And of course order of operation 16 times S plus a number. These pokes turn on the chips on the card, and that's the initialization code for the card. You have to put that to start every program. Then they provided this crazy method, totally Rube Goldberg way of reading and writing to the sensors. They only give examples of the sensor ports, not the motor ports. It uses like algebra and Boolean logic, and it's totally drunken way of doing it. I understand why they did it that way. They did it that way so you could teach children you have little variables and you set variables and they turn things on and off. It's fine for kids, but it's way complicated for a regular person. So this works, but it's over-engineered and not good for the real world. In the manual, it said experiments. This is labeled experimental documentation. And this is a close-up view of the slot setup. And then we had a brainstorm. So did any of you know Dan Briganti, Ragu Man on forums? Okay, well anyway, he's a friend of mine in Pittsburgh. He is the electrical engineer. He did your slides I mentioned. And so my level of understanding of BASIC is basically where it was in 7th grade, down here. We never covered peaks and pokes in 7th grade. We did low res, high res, go sub, go to, basic character strings, and that's it. Never covered anything more than that. Peaks and pokes were new to me a few months ago. And Dan is like a veteran 20-year electrical engineer. His level of knowledge is where I can't reach on the ceiling. And he was trying to teach me, and it wasn't working. Because I speak English and he speaks double E. Wasn't working, getting very frustrated with each other. And we were reading this, and I said, wait a minute. He was talking a mile per hour. I didn't understand any of it. I was like nodding. I didn't really understand. And he said, all this stuff, examples I just showed, all it does is peek and poke and blah, blah. I said, time out. So can't we just poke directly to the port? It's like, I guess. So basically, this big epiphany for me was so incredibly obvious, he passed right over and didn't even notice it. So that was the brainstorm. Peek and poke are our friends. In my mind, they're ports. And Dan's like, no, they're bytes. 0 to bits in a byte. Durr. And as he's telling me this, you can imagine like the harp, the angel singing, the harp, the light going on over my head. Stuff I should have learned in 8th grade if I had continued taking computers, which I didn't. So if each port is a bit and it weighs the same as a duck, all you have to do is poke the device, port you enable. So that was the big epiphany. So experiment 4, Apple II, and a new understanding of BASIC, not the way Lego did it, was a rousing success. Can you read this any better? Good. So this is my main program. Line 70, of course, never happens, but it'll be in our museum. We want to show kids you have an end. This routine turns on the slots, easy enough. I named my robot Lionad, L-E-I-N-A-D, because my friend Daniel's named backward. He had a rough summer, so I thought I'd name a robot for him. This is just instructions on the screen. It just says what to do. And Paul Heckstrom, you here? Great. I owe Paul a lot of gratitude. I made a variable front back to turn panel 1 and left right to turn panel 0. In my ignorance of how to program a joystick, I thought I had to do, okay, if you move the joystick one way, poke that. Move the joystick the other way, poke that. 4 times. It didn't work. The robot was stuttering, getting all confused, and Paul said, no, poke, save your answer to a variable, read them all the options, and then poke the variable. Paul, I thank you for that because that made all the difference. Yes. Now it works. And I was outside my apartment when we were doing the road construction. I heard a truck backing up while I'm doing this, and it went beep, beep. I said, I need that. So if it's 10, which is reverse, call 188, which is the bell, wait a few seconds and do it again. By the way, so these numbers, 5, 10, 9, and 6, they're just the decimal equivalents of the binary of the ports you want to turn on or off. And again, this is incredibly obvious to most of you, your experienced programmers. For me, it was like, oh, where was this all my life? And then the most complicated routine is the forklift code, forklift on a robot, because there's an upper and lower touch sensor I put in, so it knows when to stop. And it has to check every state before it goes anywhere, so you don't break stuff. So this is a close-up picture of my robot. It's ugly. I'm not an artist. I made the triangle frame just to keep it intact. That's a front picture. You can see when it goes down, it hits that sensor. When it goes up, this sensor hits the bottom of that. This is just a side view. That's the part I'm most proud of, because I love. I'm a mechanical-minded guy. I like to make stuff. So it's just the modern Mindstorms motors are like RC car motors. They got crap ton of power. 10 years before that, they were 4.5 volts and no torque at all. So I had to make torque. So pinning the flywheel about 84 times. It's slow and powerful, like a real forklift. I took a Sharpie and colored in the neck on the Lego head. So it's little Steve Jobs. Yes. I shall now do a demonstration. So I needed something to lift with the forklift to demonstrate it. I tried lifting a 3.5-inch ID hard drive. It did not work. I tried lifting some other stuff. It was too easy. So I said, what will I lift? And my father's girlfriend used to work for IBM, and she gave me an OS2 Post-it notepad. It says, runs DOS, Windows, and OS2 applications. And let's see, can you zoom in on this now? Okay. Let's see if it lifts that. Yeah? So the moral of the story there, and when it gets to the top, it'll stop at the sensor. Oh, it's slipping a little bit. Slipping a little bit, but you got the idea. So the moral of the story there is that an Apple II is stronger than DOS, Windows, and OS2 combined.
That was obvious.
You'd think it would be obvious. I also built a little Apple IIe. And everyone said, oh, you got to put a Raspberry Pi in there. I asked how if you had a retro writer for me. The thing is, I just had a box shot of Legos all mixed together. And these were white, but now they're nicely yellow like a real one. So it's a little Apple IIe. I'm most proud of the Kensington System Saver. Little red light. I should have put a light in there. That would have been cool. So let's see if you can lift an Apple IIe. Can an Apple IIe lift an Apple IIe? And by the way, in real life, this will be what, 6, 7 feet tall? Therefore, this is the world's largest Apple IIe by scale. You've now seen the world's largest Apple II. Let's just kind of attach this there and see if it lifts it. Well, I gotta go down before I can go back up. Play some elevator music while it goes down. Although this is a good interesting, you'll see when it hits the sensor here that the port, you can't see the port, but it'll light up and hit the sensor. It'll just magically, port 6 or whatever will go on. And even though holding the button down stops because it's a touch under. All right, we're in business. Now, of course, forklifts do not stay stationary. So let's drive around with our Apple IIe. Forward, right. Now it's slipping on the desk. On the carpet, it'd be much better. And I don't want to spend too much time. You're not here to see Legos. You're here to see, programming. But on the carpet, it works much better. And it turns better on the carpet. And then, of course, listen carefully for the backup alarm in a moment. The laser has a pretty good volume knob, pretty good speaker there. So there is other experimental documentation for assembly. Now, I do not speak assembly. Everyone said, oh, why don't you just do it in assembly? It'd be so much easier. Why are you messing with BASIC? I do not know assembly. And anyone seen the movie The Hudsucker Proxy? Coen Brothers movie? For kids. If you've seen the movie, you get the joke. This is going in our museum for 10-year-olds to understand. I have to be able to explain x equals 6. Here's what it means. I cannot do that in assembly, even if I learned it. So I'm sticking with BASIC. I know there's better ways to do it. So again, I don't know assembly. However, even I don't know it, I can show you the slides. Maybe you can make some sense out of this. I don't know what it means. One day I will learn this. And again, I'll post these. I'll go through them quickly now. Blah, blah, blah. I don't know what any of this means. I might as well be posting in Greek. So these are options. Hopefully it means something to you guys. More software thoughts. The manual said they support Logo 2. Peter, let's talk about that. Okay, so Holy Grail. There was a third version. So first there was Lego Dacta, then there was Lego Lines, which is horrible software, but it supports BASIC. Then there was Logo Writer Robotics. This is cool. I mentioned the Logo version is the bastardized version of real Lego. Logo Writer Robotics is full LCSI Logo Writer for the Apple II plus the Lego side. So it should be much more powerful because they have all the stuff back in there that took out before. So I want to play with that. Problem is, nobody has a disk. Nobody has a disk. If anyone has that image, please get in touch with me. There's a guy named Alex Lucazzi who was here a few years ago in Australia. Maybe he's at WASFest this week, I don't know. He has a web page all about this. He doesn't have a disk either. And he shows it can be done in VB, Java, anything that can access a port, a parallel port. Oddly, the Logo version, which I'll demonstrate soon, uses a clock on the card. There's no reason why the basic version can't also access that clock or anything else. But you need to write some code to do it. I don't know how to write that code. If one of you does, I'd appreciate it. I'd love to have access to the clock. I'm going to stop for a second and show the Logo demo. I think I forgot to show it earlier. Let me just plug in a couple of wires. Other lesson I learned, never use solid wire. That was a stupid thing to do. Also learned that 3.5 mil banana plugs are the perfect size of these little motors. Plug that in and plug this in. I'm going to unplug that and this one. Plug these in here and here. And I have one more wire to attach. This will work. Lastly, plug this in port 6. And yes, I always talk to myself when I'm doing these things. Okay, now I have to swap disk quickly and reboot. Perhaps you can get a close-up of the screen of the computer when I reboot. I'll take the old disk out, works better that way. What's that? What do you say about my head?
Just in the light, take it over.
Reflects my massive bald spot. Okay, so that's, you're a little crooked though on me. Okay. I'm going to switch this to black and white mode so it's easier to read the text. Okay. This is my little program I wrote to control the V8 motor. So, this little program I made is just a little multi-speed program. It's off, slow, fast. And again, there's 7 speeds, but they were too granular. You can't see the difference, so I did it that way. Peter helped me show a counter on the screen to show like how fast it's moving in revolutions per second. So I will go over here. Excuse me again, sorry. V8, and one more time here. And nothing will happen because it's in the off position now. And then starts going. Try to get the side of the V8 again. And then I don't know if you hear a difference when it goes faster. And an accidental feature was the fan on the front is free spinning, so when I stop, it just spins to a halt. Kind of cool, unintended feature. But if you come get the screen of the computer one more time, you'll see the speed control is really cool. On the bottom here, you see where it says 4 there? So that's revolutions per second. So that's, it'll go down to 0 now, because it's off. And then it'll catch up to 4, or whatever it is, 6 or 8. And then faster, you can see it speed up. Oh, wait. Don't know what's happening there. Peter, our software broke. Anyway, it kind of sort of works there. So, control stop, okay. So that's a Logo demo. I'll get into what I want to do a little bit. I want to correlate the robot movement with something on the screen. And Dave Slaughter and Martin Hay last night helped me learn how to do that, which I appreciate very much. I want to make a game of some sort where you can like avoid things on the screen by driving the robot. How cool would it be if you can control Mindstorms with an Apple II, right? I'm sure it could be done by someone who knows more than I do. And I was talking to Peter earlier, he gave his Logo update, and he mentioned a robot, and I thought, wait a minute, if you have, like on an Android, you can do an Apple II emulator. So why can't I run this from an Apple II emulator on my phone? Why do I need a computer, right? And you just have to have like a Bluetooth to serial interface, whatever, and it should work. That'd be pretty cool. Supposedly there were other versions. I've never seen them. the Commodore, I know it's a bad word here, the Commodore has the chips you need built in already, so you don't need a card for the Commodore. There was a plotter kit. I don't have it. My friend Dan does. He doesn't have the software. He's trying to write it. My friend Dan also pointed out to me that if you have more than one box, you could have as many boxes as you have cards and slots. And you could, there's so much room on a card, you could even control 2 boxes by putting double the chips on a card. So if you have, say, 3 spare slots, you could have 6 interface boxes and 42 ports. Imagine what you could build with 42 ports and motors, lights, and sensors. You could build like the ultimate contraption. What's that?
John Bell engineering cards got 26522s on it.
You could do amazing things, yeah. Modern computers through VB, whatever, only need parallel port. Next to last slide. So there are kits on eBay, Bricklink, etc. They're either very expensive, new in box, or you buy them untested, but they're pretty simple. You know, usually they work or are easy to fix. Schematics are online of the card, both cards, IBM and Apple. There are not schematics of the box itself, but you saw the picture I posted. Looks pretty easy to build for someone who knows what they're doing, I guess. Online software is limited. Online docs are very limited. I have some documents that are not online. Since my group is a nonprofit, we intend to contact Lego Corporate and see if we can get permission that at least won't sue us and put the docs online for everyone to use. This is the guy I mentioned. He's like the mother lode of information about the kit, more technical information than I can give. Just Google Lucchese Lego. It's the first result. Line of game development I mentioned. So in our museum we'll have a game, teach kids how to program and stuff. I mentioned that. Special thanks to Paul and Michael Mulhern and Dave Slaughter and Martin and Peter. One more slide to go. The last slide. Ah! Okay. We won an award at Maker Faire for this. And my friend Jeff had a Capsella Commodore version. And IEEE Spectrum was so impressed, they asked us to write an article for them about it. That was last fall. We've since learned a lot more about it. So whatever's in the article is a deprecated version of this talk. But it's cool. Hey, Spectrum is prestigious, so it's cool. One day, I shall learn assembly. If I can afford to come back here in a year or two, I'll come back with an assembly version, I vow. Hope you, please don't hold me to that. And come talk to me this week or whatever. Ideas welcome, and the end. Thank you. Any questions? Yes, sir.
Do you have pictures of the books that your Lego and Lego Writer books?
Yes, I did not bring them with me. All the educational K-12 books I have at home in our museum, I did bring with me in my room, 105, some of the big binders of information, technical stuff, if you want to come see them. They're logo-centric because there's really no basic documentation. But all the educational stuff and the parts that mentioned assembly and all, I did not bring with me. I had a small little room in my car. So, yes?
You mentioned controlling Mindstorms as a possible route you'd like to go down. When I had Mindstorms kit a decade or so ago, I had a serial, just an RS-232 infrared transmitter receiver, and that was how it talked to the brick. So that would be super easy to interface.
You know, as far as I know, there is an infrared output on my Android phone, so that could work. I do not have an Android kit. I can't afford a Mindstorm kit. I can't afford one. If anyone wants to donate one to my educational cause, I'd love to have it. Yes?
Go on Goodwill.com and just keep running a search every week. They pop up. I've got 2 of them.
Okay, then you have one to spare. Yes?
So there's original Mindstorms from '98, roughly. Lego NXT is the Mindstorms.
Right, they're in 3rd gen now, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they may have Bluetooth or something like that.
And I would assume that the more advanced you get from 1st to 2nd and 3rd gen Mindstorms, maybe, I mean, I've heard it's easy to hack, and there's lots of hacking done for it, but maybe start with an original, probably easiest to hack, I would imagine, maybe. I don't really know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I'd imagine a lot could be done if somebody had the knowledge and the time, which I have little of either. Any other questions? No? So again, I'm humbled to be here because I figure I know less than most of you, so thank you for finding this interesting, and I hope you like it. Thank you.